Good morning and welcome back to yet another episode of the Arlington Experience with Jim Ross. I'm Jim Ross. I'm here with an incredibly good friend of mine, Mr. Kevin Holland. Good morning, Kevin. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Jim. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Now, if y'all don't know Kevin, I got to tell you a little bit about him before he gets into this stuff. This is a young man who knows what it's like to work hard for what he wants. He is a professional MMA fighter. He is currently ranked number 10 in the world with the UFC. And if I'm not mistaken, Kevin, you just won your 5th straight fight this year in the UFC.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 5 straight.
How in the world did you get into MMA?
Well, I got kicked out of high school, and then the next school I went to had a kung fu instructor, and man, he was strict. He hit you in the head with a cane. So yeah, that was just that was from there. I was like, I like this.
Where were you going to high school?
In California, Rancho Cucamonga. I went to a school, Los Osos High School, and then I went to Chaffee North, I believe.
Right.
And Chaffee North changed my life.
So you got kicked out because were you a problem kid?
Well, I mean, I accidentally headbutted a security guard. It was an accident, Jim. It was an accident. He came up from behind, gave me a nice hug, and back went the head.
So Kung Fu started to give you some discipline, some respect.
Yeah, a lot of discipline.
Confidence.
Yeah, a lot of discipline, a lot of respecting others, and then definitely a bunch of confidence.
Kung Fu is not a style of martial arts that one typically relates to being successful in the MMA world, correct?
True, very true.
And you and I met a number of years ago, and I think it was actually at the gym in South Arlington here, where you were an amateur MMA fighter at the time, up and coming, and if I remember, you went undefeated as an amateur, did you not?
Yeah. I had the same amount of wins as an amateur as I had this year as a pro. So.
Wow. Tell me your experience in martial arts, first of all. You have a black belt in Kung Fu?
We have 2nd degree in Kung Fu. We just got a black belt underneath Travis last ranking day, so that was probably like 3-4 months ago. And we train Muay Thai every once in a while, but it's not that great, Okay. Do a lot of boxing, and my wrestling's probably the worst wrestling in Texas, but that's okay.
Oh, well, it can't be that bad if Travis Luter gave you a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's my ability to pull guard and put my foot right in the trunk.
Now, pulling guard, we've both been involved in martial arts for a long time. Recently, you had a fight where you were on your back in guard.
Yeah.
And you knocked your opponent out by laying on your back and striking. Is that right?
Well, it was on my butt.
Okay. Nonetheless, you were on you were down on the ground when you knocked your opponent out.
I was down, Jim. I was down.
That was a lot of fun to watch. I've never seen that before in all of my years with MMA and everything. So
don't make me blush.
The reason why I wanted to take some time with you this morning, is you came up in a rough life. Yeah. You came up not always being in the best neighborhoods. You were the product of a single mom, and your grandparents were around, but you had it rough.
Yes, sir.
And you were able to stay focused on what your goals were in life. And now you're ranked number 10 in the world with the UFC. Yeah. And you're doing pretty daggone good right now. So first of all,
thank you.
As an older friend of yours, I'm extraordinarily proud. But second of all, what do you have to say to those young men or women who were where you were 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago and struggling to figure out where you wanted to be?
Dream big, but dream realistic, and then work. Work hard. Work every day. It's like, you got to work your job so you can make money and pay your bills. But then after you work that job, go home and work on your dreams, And so we always did homework growing up. This is your homework, Your dreams is your homework. You got to go home, take it home with you, and continue to work. So if you're young and you got a dream, you want to achieve it, go make your money in the daytime. But at nighttime, don't stop working for yourself, Wake up a couple hours early in the morning, do something for yourself, and then at nighttime, continue to focus on what you want to do.
Any idea when your next fight is or what's going to happen next?
Yeah, so next fight is scheduled for March 20th against Derek Brunson, but we'll take anything that comes up, if something comes up in between time and people need to be entertained, that's part of working hard. We step up to work.
I know of two nicknames you have.
Uh,
First one, Kevin the Trailblazer Holland.
yes, sir.
Trailblazer came from what?
I was at my continuation school, Chafee North, and he wanted to name the martial arts Trailblazers, Trailblazer Academy or Just Warrior Academy. And Just Warrior sounded like Justice League so much that I just kept begging for like 6 months that he named it Trailblazer Academy. And so when he named it Just Warrior, he just said, "Oh, you can have the name Trailblazer. You're always on the trail blazing, and you're always, in the classroom doing your thing." And so I thought it was pretty cool, and so I just never left it. I got it tattooed on my chest in a different language, and I wasn't sure if that's what it really said until I took a trip to China, and it really says that. So it's the nickname I got, so I stuck with it. Unless we're talking about the other nickname.
I am talking about the other nickname that I believe Mr. Dana White with the UFC gave you, and that nickname is Big Mouth.
Yeah.
And first of all, do you think that that's well deserved?
Jim?
I know it's well deserved.
It's well deserved.
All right. So how did you get the nickname Big Mouth from Dana White?
Contender series. We had a contender series fight a few years ago, and I just wouldn't stop talking. The whole fight. I guess you could say it was nerves. I guess you could say I was just that comfortable in there. I just kept smacking on him and talking to him the whole time. I had a lot to say. And then after that fight, he said, "Call Big Mouth." They called me up. And then I talked again in the Thiago Santos fight while getting smacked on the whole time. So it was vice versa. I went from smacking somebody and talking the whole time to getting smacked on and talking the whole time. There was no way to live it down.
Thiago Santos fight was your first UFC fight.
Yeah, that was the first real UFC
and
fight.
You had how much notice with that fight?
We had like a week, if that. We had to get medicals done. We had a lot of things to do.
Okay, so Kevin's being a little bit modest here, but since I know a little bit about what happened, Thiago Santos was the guy he was going to fight fell out for whatever reason. And UFC started looking at some of the other guys that were on the contender series with you to see who would step up on a week's notice and fight who at the time was the number 8 or 9th ranked middleweight in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else wanted to fight the guy.
No,
because he was a legitimate fighter, or is a legitimate fighter.
Yeah, and he had that Thor hammer on his chest.
Had the Thor hammer. Dana White says, "Call Big Mouth. See if Big Mouth will fight him." I've never seen you say no to a fight, and you didn't say no to that one either, right?
I thought it was a good fight for me. He had got knocked out to David Branch, and so I figured it'd be a perfect fight. That was the only fight of his I seen. And then I started doing research, and he had all these spinning kick knockouts and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, see why they called me? I see why they called me."
So you didn't win that fight, but you went the distance, and it was a very, very impressive fight.
Yeah.
And that's what kicked off your UFC career, correct?
Yeah. It got me started as a fun person that shows up no matter what. So it definitely worked out.
And you did the same thing this year, but you won upper fight this year, 5 fights this year in the UFC.
It was a fun one.
Let me tell y'all something. If you're an MMA fan, you probably already know who Kevin Holland is. If you're not, become one, because you're never going to see another fighter this exciting, this much fun to watch. He is a role model for these young men and women who grow up in a difficult time, because he has walked the walk that he talks on a regular basis. And he knows what it takes to go from nothing to everything. I look forward to you getting the middleweight title in the UFC.
Yes, sir.
I know it's going to happen. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for what you do for all of these kids here who look up to you. I can't tell you how important it is and how proud I am to say that I had a part of watching you grow and mature as a man and a fighter, and how it all started right here in Arlington a number of years ago. Yes, I appreciate you, brother. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
We'll look forward to seeing y'all on the next episode of the Arlington Experience with Jim Ross.